interested in what has been removed from this list of what's new and planned in the next release. So last time when we met, we did talk about the indexes where you can disable them. Surprisingly, I got an update on Twitter that Microsoft had updated the plan, and somebody pointed out that you should go back and check what are the removals. And Microsoft did remove that indexes thing from it. So if you are super interested in that indexes thing, just keep an eye that that'll not be something which is coming in the next release. It may come in sometime in future, but that has been removed right now. Okay. If you search for that indexes, disabling indexes, which was available last time when we checked this page, that has been removed. There seems some addition to it, and one of them is this scan barcode with Business Central mobile app. So let's have a look. So with this, there will be a UI button where the mobile client, and this is just for the mobile client, will allow users to scan a barcode with a new extended type property. So now it seems that in future there will be a new extended type property, which is right now set to be masked, I guess. And then there was two or three more options to this property, which will now also available as a barcode on a field. If that is set as barcode, it'll also allow you to scan a barcode from there, which is nice from a warehousing perspective. You can also write it on an ALXN, so you can have a button available or a link available, which then allows users on iOS or Android device to use the camera-based scanning technologies, which something looks like this. So when you set up the extended data type as barcode, the users will see this button on their mobile devices, either Android or iOS. And then they also have a barcode event. Okay, so it only seems to support right now at Zebra and Data Logic running on Android 11 and above. There's no support for these two barcodes at this point for iOS. So people who are using Android will still be able to define that barcode event, which then allows Android users to use either the Zebra barcode or the Data Logic barcode. So that's something which was not available last time when we scanned this list, but now this seems to be available. So look how far that go. What else we did not look at? Um, this seems to be available in the last release, but I didn't saw this in action. And I'm as much as I love this, I have problems with this where with the design mode or with the personalization, you'll actually be able to see all the field associated on that page and will be able to add field into the page. Now, which kind of puts us in this position that if you are adding a field on the ledger, we need to make sure that we define it editable and other properties very clearly. Otherwise, users will be able to add that field into the pages whenever they need it. And that, as much as it sounds easier from a customer perspective, from a developer perspective, we need to make sure that we set the right properties. So even if they are able to add that field on the page, they are not able to modify it. Any thoughts on that? Add existing table field to optimize your pages.
In 22, I think they added just a few more. I didn't see, that you could add any field. through
Yeah,
personalization anyways. Not through personalization anyways. I hear what you're saying with the editable and that, but I mean for certain fields, like maybe address fields and things like that, it's handy to be able to just drag them over, right? Because a lot of times, like on a
yeah,
customer list or something, some of those fields are not there. They may be in the newer version, but sometimes there's key fields that you want that are just informational. So it's nice to be able to just personalize them.
Again,
yeah.
this
The
will
only
not be available for
Right.
user, right? This will be somebody for somebody who is creating profiles.
I guess in the last release, whatever they had the note that this will be available in personalization, as Dan was saying, and that will allow everyone to do it if
Yeah,
you
they
have the
added
personalization.
just a few fields.
Yeah,
The other thing I think is, at least maybe I have it wrong, but the customization and personalization are kind of the same thing, except when you customize it, does the whole profile, right? But I think it has the same capabilities. And then unless you turn off the ability for the user to personalize, they can still hide or, show anything that you turned off through customization, unless it's true code customization.
yeah. The only thing with the personalization is that then it only applies to you,
Right.
other than you go into a personalizer role, because
Yeah.
then if you personalize a profile, then it goes applies to anyone who is using that profile.
Right.
But yeah, as an I hate design mode for sure. As in, if there is a way that Microsoft can disable it or give an option, I'll make sure that we disable the design in every customer, because there are thousands of extensions that you'll see because somebody get into a design mode and created a extension out of it,
I
which
thought it only works in the sandbox though. So right, even if they do it, don't they have to move the app over to production?
yeah, that's true. The only problem is that in a perfect world situation, that then comes to a partner, and then they have to make sure that there are no overloads or they're not overlapping with the different extension. Because if five people created a design mode extension, then they might be modifying the same page, which then a partner will have to merge all those changes into one single app, which is a tough job, because once you export them out and import them, they kind of treat them as PTEs rather than the design mode or dev mode. So as soon as you export them from Sandbox or download from Sandbox and import it in production, they kind of convert them to PTEs rather than saying that they are dev extension, and it's a lot of confusion. So I do remember we had a upgrade customer last year, and they have exactly 900 plus design mode extensions,
Jeez.
and it was a nightmare to kind of merge them in. Yeah, unless Microsoft says that we'll have one design extension per customer or per tenant, and then anybody who modifies a design page, because design page is applicable to every user who's using the system. So if they can say that we'll override the existing design page and add this page extension into it or page customization into it, that'll be, that's something how I would think about a design mode, not creating a separate extension every time you get into a design mode, which is happening today. So let's see what this brings in. But Sandeep sir, I don't think that this is limiting what or who can use it. I think it'll just be anyone who have a personalized option will be able to add fields.
Because what they are mentioning here is we are also unlocking table fields so that administrator, department owners, and partner consultant can easily and immediately, not the end user.
Yeah, but because last time it was not released, but it was announced in a way that you can add any field as a user into your page using personalized mode. Because right now that list was limited based on whatever is available on the page, either set to hidden or visible. But now, in the last release, they said, and they never released it, where you can just get all the fields and you can drag them and put them into your pages. Okay,
Yeah,
so
let's
we'll have a
see.
look how, yeah, how that comes in. Okay, what is this? Peek at summarized data from editable fields. Until now, the peek control was only available on list and non-editable forms. You can now use peek control. Okay, so peek is that hovering over that field so that you can get the what we call the brick view of the page when you hover over in that field. So that'll be available going forward in every field rather than just on non-editable fields or forms. That's nice. As in, if the brick property is defined, you will be able to get more info about that report of that record just by um, hovering over that field. So we did talk about all these in the last meeting. We did talk about the analyze group. Excel admin we did talk about. Onboarding. Okay. Digital vouchers. Sandeep sir went deep into it. I have not much clue about it. Let's see what comes in with that. Okay. Cancel cloud migration replication run. Now this is about when customers are moving from on-prem to SaaS, and now they are adding capabilities to cancel a replication that is happening right now. And people who haven't done cloud replication for a while and have read about it in business and 14 and all, this tool have changed drastically. In the initial versions of this tool, you could have scheduled it, and you could have said that because we have a bigger database on prem, we would like to replicate the delta every day, let's say from 7 p.m. till 3 a.m. every day. And those scheduling options are not available right now. So that's something to remind or remember that when you have a bigger database, it's a little bit trickier at this point to do the cloud replication because there are no scheduling options which were available in the past, but it has its own problems because if users will log into Business Central SaaS, the replication only works one way from on-prem to SaaS. So if anybody by mistakenly created a transaction in SaaS, they'll get overwritten based on whatever the values on on-prem, including ledgers and all, because it's a SQL replication or SQL cloud migration. So it doesn't understand the Business Central aspect of the data. It's a flat override of the data coming from Business Central on premise to Business Central SaaS. So I'm surprised that at this point, where more and more bigger customer would like to replicate to SaaS, Microsoft should announce a way that they are continuously replicating the delta from on-premise to SaaS, which doesn't seem an option right now. So whenever you start replication, you start replicating all the possible data that it can replicate to SaaS, and in some cases it take more than a weekend to kind of replicate that. It's a nightmare on a bigger customer, but what I've learned in the past, that you can actually reach out to Microsoft and they can put you on a higher bandwidth more or less to replicate faster from your on-prem server. So if you have a bigger database which takes a lot of time to replicate, make sure to talk to Microsoft and they'll be able to put you on a higher plan to just to complete the replication. Okay. Anybody read about namespaces? Because I'm super excited with the introduction of namespaces in Business Central. Nothing? Okay. So for all these years, we understood the concept of prefixing our objects, our fields, and I'm not sure about the fields, but for sure about the objects, so that they are unique and they don't overlap with Microsoft objects or with ISV objects. The concept of namespace is super good, super interesting with respect to just about these new objects, because now within your namespace you can have a similar name of an object which even a Microsoft or an ISV can have. And if you define a namespace, then you will have to include namespaces if you are referring to an object from a other namespace. So just to give you an example, if you are referring a object from the base app, then you will have to include that namespace by writing something called as include, if I'm not wrong, uh, into your objects, so that the compiler is able to understand that this object may not be part of your namespace, but will be part of a different namespace which you are including in your object itself. So an AL file can now define the namespace at the top, which will apply to all objects in that code file. And a given object can belong to one namespace, but the same namespace can be used in multiple AL files. So for your whole AL extension, your PTE that you are building, you can have a unique namespace for your PTE, and that namespace will kind of act as a container for all the objects that are part of your extension. So when the compiler tries to resolve objects, it tries to find out the closest scope. And the first scope that it looks for is on the top of your object, that is there a namespace defined or not. But while using your code, if you are trying to, let's say, just to give you an example, if you are trying to utilize the Microsoft SharePoint code units which are available, then they will also be grouped in different namespaces, and you will have to include those namespaces so that the compiler then understand that while looking for the references of this object, I actually have to look in references of these available or included namespace which are part of that object. If not done that way, then just skip it and give you a compilation error. So it's something that is coming from object oriented programming back into Business Central or AL code. So for developers, yes, it'll be a little bit changed. From a customer perspective, they will not notice any change that's coming in. Any thoughts?
So if I understand the like in C sharp, a namespace, if you declare a namespace, you automatically have access to all the objects that are within that namespace. So you don't have to explicitly declare an object variable within that namespace. It's just automatically available. Is that true?
No, as far as I've read, you will also have to define that variable. But like, just take an example. If you want to utilize a method from file management, you'll still have to define it as a variable, but the variable will not compile or will not be understood until unless you define the right namespace where that variable exists.
So you have to use
So
a
if, yeah,
using
something like that.
namespace declaration, and then you can only use objects that are within that namespace that are declared using the using
Yeah,
declaration. Okay,
yeah,
so it's kind of an added step, right? You can't
yeah.
just
I'll have to test it out from the perspective once this is available next month to see can does it also allows to a field level. That's pretty simple to see. As in, my idea of it is, can I actually remove my prefixes and suffixes on my object with the concept of namespaces or not? If I can, that'll be
so,
a great advantage.
so isn't that going to break everything?
It'll not, because let's think about it. Um, it may, all your existing extension, and I'm saying may because I haven't played around with it at this moment. But if Microsoft introduces namespaces in their objects, then it might break all the PDs that you have, because you'll have to include them, right? So it might break, and I will have to wait for the preview versions to test this out before making
So
any comment
is
on it.
it if Microsoft introduces namespace into their stuff to use it from a customization perspective, maybe they'll roll it out slowly, because I mean we have to assign our objects to namespaces before we can use them in the code. It seems like a major undertaking.
Yeah, it's a major change, but from a perspective of compiler resolving the object reference, it seems a good change, because all the issues that we have heard that Microsoft have right now is in that compilation bomb, where is this method is available in the base app or in ASV app or in your PDE, because a prefix is not mandatory on a method name, right? So you can have a method saying get posting date, and as we can also have a method saying get posting date, and even other ISV can have the same method. If it is available in the Microsoft app, then give a compilation issue, but while building these apps separately, you will not have that problem as of today. And Microsoft never detailed out that you also have to use prefixes on your method names. So when a compiler with three of these, two ISVs and your PDE, get confused about a method name, that's where I guess namespaces will help.
Right.
Yeah, but how will that impact to the existing PDs? Will be interesting to see once they are available in September preview.
It seems like it'll perhaps be a performance improve. It'll allow for performance improvement because the namespace kind of decreases the scope of what the compiler has to do to to investigate whether the code is proper or not. Instead of like right now, there's no namespaces, so the entire code base is evaluated during the compilation.
Yeah, because 90% of the time when we code, we might take some references from the base app, but in very fewer cases we use a system app references. But with the namespaces, you will have to define very you know in a file level, that are you going to utilize a reference from a different app if Microsoft introduces namespaces in their code. So then, as John is saying, it kind of limits how much compiler have to work to understand how to resolve this method name and parameters while compiling and even while developing those objects. So let's see. And then from a development side, I'll good I'll try to understand how much clarity this brings. As in, my biggest point is, can it break the whole prefixing and suffixing logic on the objects names and method names that we have today? Because as far as I've read about namespaces, you can have the similar name of the object or the method in your namespace, which might be available in the another namespace. So I can have my own file management code unit in my namespace, which will never override or will never try to reference a base app file management code unit, because it is defined within my object or within my namespace. But let's see how that bakes in. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of Microsoft puts it together. Okay, what is this? New secure text string type to store variable secret that should not be debugged. Um, okay. So it is a scenario where, let's say, when you're trying to connect to an external party and you have these different kind of secrets available, different kind of keys, parameter that are available that you're storing as masked as of today. There are very few who are utilizing the isolated storage and other things that is available as of today in Business Central to kind of make sure that, or cryptography to kind of encrypt those things. But it seems that a new secure text data type is going to be introduced. So a new data type getting added in Business Central or AL called secure text data type. And this will be similar to a text data type in terms of how you define it. The only the sole difference that it wouldn't support the constraint of the length. Okay. So at this moment, text variable, whenever you define, you have to define a length or the maximum character that a text variable can support. Going forward, if you are utilizing a secure text data type, the only difference is that it will support the constraint. So you don't have to define a length of that text variable. Variable value, return value, and a parameter value. We also need to remember that the secure text values can also not be visible in the debugging scenarios, which is a great added advantage on top of what we have today. Okay, any text type assigned to the secure string, as long as it cannot be converted to a text type, the secure text that encapsulate a text value, text data type. So yeah, you should not be passing a code value to the secure text, because as soon as you pass it to that, it'll convert it to the text type, because the new secure text is kind of an extension of the text variable that we have. Okay, anything else on this one? Seems a good addition. And hopefully on your integration pieces where you are storing these values in your different setup records, it'll help you to kind of make them secure as you start typing it. And if my computer shut down, sorry, I'll come back to this meeting because I have this slide to shut down.
And like looks like he has given us chance to make jokes about him.
That's right. Let me see. I got some
Let's
pictures of
see.
them I can share. See.
And sorry guys, this issue, I don't know how to solve this. I have a ticket with Dell as well as with Microsoft to, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's this issue of slide to shut down with Windows 11, which is causing so many problems to me recently. I'm trying to fix it.
What
Seen
exactly?
it? Sandeep?
No.
Slide to shut down. It's a feature in Windows 10 and 11. So randomly at some time, especially during meetings, you see a window sliding down on your screen and it says slide to shut down. And even if you don't do anything, it automatically shut down your computer for no reasons, it seems. So
It does
yeah,
happen with
there
me at times as well.
are yeah. So I've created a ticket, Tanya, with Dell as well as with Microsoft. Let's see if we get anything out of it. It's nice to know that you also have it. So I'll make sure if I know it, I'll post it to you.
Good evening. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What else? We did talk about these. Uh, Now this is, as in people who have worked on AL in Business Central 14 will understand what this is. The Get AL VSIX preview versions on Visual Studio Code Marketplace. Now, what a VSIX file is, that with every version of Business Central, there is a compatible VSIX file that is generated by Microsoft, which allows you to write code against that version. Now, people who have worked with the preview versions of Business Central will understand that it's very hard to get that VSIX file on a preview version, and it was a nightmare. And people who are still using Business Central 14, I can just show them that to kind of make it easier to explain. Hmm, let me see if I can find that. So in your Business Central versions, and that is still valid, but that was very common in Business Central 14. Against each build, wherever Microsoft changes platform, they also release this AL language VSIX inside your development environment folder. It can be BC14 or any other version higher than that. Now, typically you don't install it. You rely on Microsoft extension for your VS Code, where it gets updated automatically whenever the new version is available, and so on and so forth. But in the past, when you're working on a futuristic version which is not available as of today, what you used to do is on your extension page, where is that? Here. You can actually get the extension from here, like we do from Marketplace, and install them. But if you have to install an older version or a future version which is not publicly available, then you typically click on these three dot and say install from ESIX, and then
Have you
install those
shared the
files
screen?
manually. Oh, I haven't. I should have.
I'm
Let me
still
try
seeing
again.
the browser.
Ah, sorry. Mm, okay. Let me know when you can see it.
Now it's visible.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
thank you for letting me know. So inside, whenever you install a version, you get a language VSIX inside your RTC path of Business Central 14 and higher. And mm, typically, what we do is we rely on this extension on your extension management in VS Code. Then this will give you always the latest version that is available from Microsoft. But like in the March or April release, Business Central 14 will not be supported. So I'm hoping that when you create a new extension, you'll not be able to choose the runtime version of a backward compatibility, which is not supported. How you do in that case? Or if you are using a preview version of Microsoft, which is typically on a Docker environment or on your cloud sandbox, you cannot build extension on it. So what you have to do is you have to go from here and choose to install from VSIX, which then allows you to either install a AL language extension from a older version at the same time for a future version. So when people use that option and install it based on that, then they either go to a higher version or a future or a legacy version by referring to a physical file which is available on their extension or in their local machines. Going forward for the preview versions, because there has been a lot of complaint about it, because typically preview versions are for testing purposes, but as developers and partners, we would like to do some customizations and see how it behaves. So the only problem is that, like, when this release will be out next month, I'll not be able to write an extension with a namespace and test it out on my cloud sandbox because I'll not have a compatible VSIX available on my machine. I'll have to wait for the public release of that version so that I can then set the runtime and get these features available in my code. If I'm trying something with the code which is available in the previous version, that's all allowed. That's not a problem. But anything that is platform related to the newest or the latest version kind of caused problem in the past. So it seems with this release, you will be able to, and I guess we saw this that, like, right now, if you look at it, mm, I'm on a pre-release version, or I can switch to a pre-release version, which will allow me to write to a future version. Okay. So the version that I'm in, which is installing right now, will start supporting the next version of Business Central, which is version 12 point. I'm hoping this is more than that. But now going forward, if you're working on preview releases, which will be out next month, and if you would like to test out these features that are available and dependent on the platform, you can come to your VS Code, go to your ALX language extension, and actually switch to a preview release. The only risk there is that's a preview release, and it may cause some issues while you're utilizing it because it's still under testing. But you can always switch back to a stable release, or you can continue using the preview release going forward, which saves a lot of time for people who try to pre-test their features with uh, AL code. So right now, I think that's available as of today. So you can even start using it. And if I see it, it says the public preview is already out. So yeah, that's why I guess I'm able to use it. But going forward, it'll be common. So don't rely on Visual Studio to update your extension, because the next version releases, you will have to manually go into your extension management, pick your AL language extension, and switch to a preview release if you want to do something with the previews. Any questions there?
But by preview release, so you meaning that from the Visual Studio, you have to manually do it.
Yeah, so like the previews are out for a month, right? So let's say next month we are talking about the same thing, and we want to test out the namespaces. Now, as far as my
Mhm.
understanding says, it's not a code feature, it's a platform feature, right? Like report extensions were a platform feature, or
Mhm.
or the new event type that is announced in preview in the last release is also a platform feature. So if you have to test out a code segment, like if I would like to test out the namespaces in my code, I'll not be able to do it with the stable release of the AL language, because that only will support the version which is available in the market, which is version 22 as of this moment, right? If I have to test out something which is coming up in 23 before it gets released, then I'll have to
Mhm.
switch here, like I'm doing right now, to a preview release, which will allow my VS Code to write code into the future version and test out things.
So I'm not able to see where to switch. As in, are you moving your
I
mouse
was switching
something,
here. It's
or it's
it's installing right now.
okay,
Can you
okay,
see this?
yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that. Yeah,
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 it'll take a while. But
yeah.
when you look at this page, let me see if I can go there.
So by
Marketplace.
if we have any extension of to be released in the future version, I can come here and update my AL, and then I can compile that extension against the pre-release. If I'm not wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So right now the stable version is 12.0 which is installed right now. Once this installation is over, I'm pretty sure I'll get a higher version of this extension. And here you can get the detail, I guess, when you click on it. This extension, as you can see, it says this extension has a pre-release version available. So I can actually try a pre-release version of this extension. So if there is a like have anyone, and I guess we have tried it in this meeting, but anyone else tried the new event type external event in Business Central? Okay. So Microsoft in the last release introduced a preview of the external event in Business Central. The external events are defined in the same way as you define normal events. The only beauty of the external event is they don't get triggered in Business Central, but they announce their triggering to the Power Platform engine. It can be Power Automate, Power Apps, Power Pages, and all. So anytime your code reaches to an external event, anyone who is trying to subscribe to that event can automatically be triggered based on your code that you're writing it. Now, why I'm talking about it, because if you have to define an external event, you need to make sure that when you are doing your AL Go, which I'll just do right now, you'll have to choose the version 11. Now that's a preview version right now. It's not in the platform as of today. The version that is um, stable is 10.0, which is supported with the latest release that is available of today. But if you want to use external business event, they will only be supported if you use the release 11.0. Otherwise, you'll not be able to utilize those because those are dependent on platform. In the same way, when you are trying namespaces in future, and this is just an assumption that namespace is a platform feature, which I'm hoping they are platform feature, I'll have to make sure that I get an option to utilize a 11.0 preview, which I can do today because I have installed this, so that I can use those namespaces. Because 11 will be in stable release in October when the product is actually out. So if you are just relying on your VS Code automatically updating these extension, it'll only automatically upgrade it if you are on a released version. So if you see right now, this got installed, it says that do you want to switch to a release version or do you want to switch to a pre-release version? So pre-release is something that you are testing out some code segments, or for your practice you would like to see what's coming in future and how you as a partner or a developer will be able to utilize it. So that's where you'll be able to do it, which was a very big problem in the previous versions of Business Central, where you have to rely with that physical file which is available inside a Docker container or with the installation media that you have. Okay, sell Business Central apps through app stores. That was always available. What changed in there? Hmm. This is something which is already announced. I don't know why they are putting it in there, because even if I look at dates, okay, yeah, the dates are already out. So if you haven't noticed, in the last release, somewhere around that time, Microsoft released their whole payment gateway and other things in the app source. So there is a Freddy's app which is available, and let me see if I can go there and show it to you. But there is the whole payment gateway. I don't know about the pricing and all about it, or how much you have to pay Microsoft based on different services. But with this, all the code that you are writing or all the external engines you are using just for the payment gateway of your services, of your apps that are available in App Source, you will be able to utilize the whole Microsoft planning or Microsoft approach in there rather than using a third party tool just for the payments and all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we need to test it.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. As in, I was talking to someone and they said, how much Microsoft is charging for it? And I said, I have no clue because I haven't used it. But Freddy have an app, for example, I guess. Not wrong about it. You see, no, not this. Um, Product Dynamics 365 Business Central, and let me create the filters. And let me search for Microsoft if I can. So Freddy have a demo app for $1 where he's trying to showcase how you can utilize the whole Microsoft engine into it and how you can offer different pricing plan. And maybe that app is called Hello World. I'm not wrong. Search for that. Yes, Hello World. Now here, the beauty of this approach is that you can have different offerings based on different groups of how you want to sell your app. So it says if you want to test it out with 10 to 100 user plan, then you will be charged 0.20 dollars per user per month, and annual price would be this. If you just want it to first 10 users, then your price first month is free, and then this. So you can have different kind of offerings for the same app based on how the use cases are. Now, how that works, I have no clue. I'm not part of the team in the company that I'm working in, which takes care of the whole apps in app source. But this is something which is not available in the past. Just FYI, if you're like me, who never worked on app source apps, and partners have to write or work with some ISVs who can give them this payment gateway options to kind of pay. But right now, I guess everything is here, and you can do everything from here. From a pricing perspective, from a different plan perspective, you can choose what the different plan look like. You can start subscribing for a month, for a year, and so on and so forth. Define your credit card and other things here, and then complete your purchase. Now, I don't know why they put that into this release, but this was already available in the last release where people were able to do it, and people who have tested it out. And Sandeep said, if you test it out, let us know how that works. But it gives you more flexibility in general. Okay. So this will be available. Not so much fun for people who don't deal with it, but I would like to get opinion from the people who are utilizing this kind of feature in Business Central. Okay, this is the localization. I didn't wanted to get into different localization until someone is interested in. But let's go up. Copilot, we did talk about what are the Copilot introduction that we'll see. As of today, if you're interested in it, about the whole AI buzz in Business Central, there is a little bit restriction how much you can do with the open AI access because Microsoft have not make it publicly available. There are very few partners. There's a huge form that you have to fill in if you would like to get part of the open source AI, or what is that called? Open AI framework. Yes. So if you go into your Azure portal and try to subscribe to a service called OpenAI, you will have to fill up a form, provide details, provide your use cases, how you're going to use it. But when you look at it as of what Microsoft is doing today in the whole item page with the marketing text, that all is coming from OpenAI framework that's available. So we'll still have to wait. Let's see how this bank reconciliation and other enhancement in Business Central make that open, accessible to more people, or to anyone, to be very fair, so that people can start utilizing the AI features in Business Central. I have some scenarios where I would love to use the AI into it. Okay, we did seems to talk about all this. We did saw it into the technical part. Okay, this seems a new addition. Identify and track items easier with item references. Is that something like item tracing that is available in Nav or Business Center for all these years, or is it something else? No, it's something else. The item reference number just got expanded to different pages and tables, which makes it easier to search for it, it seems. Okay, anything else? Let's see. We did cover all this, right? I'm interested in seeing how Microsoft changes this experience, because if this is done in a way how Microsoft, or how I'm feeling about it, I think will be all partners or all developers in the ecosystem will be able to move the whole workflow engine, which is currently only used for document approval in Business Central, to the whole Power Automate engine or Power Flow engine. Because what Microsoft is saying here, that the approval user setup will also have a boolean, or will have an indicator to suggest if the approver is a Power Automate flow approver. Because as of today, if you have used the Power Automate flows, the only limitation is that you have to hard code who will approve this document, which is a nightmare. I might have some document getting approved by Sandeep sir, some by Dan, some by Tanya, some by Nishant, and some by Avinash, and some by John. And that's okay and easier to set up in Business Central, which is a limitation in Power Automate flow as of today. But if they are able to kind of introduce this feature in the way that I'm thinking about it, you'll be able to define that in Business Central and then utilize it. The other thing to kind of pay attention here, that the system now will emit external business event for approval requests. So anytime somebody says I would like to send it in for an approval, and not use the webhooks old technology, and utilize the new external business event to automatically let Power Automate or Flow know that somebody have clicked on it, so go and proceed on it. So you'll not have to rely on this whole Business Central piece of Power Automate approval. It'll be a nice addition, at least the way I think about it. Any thoughts?
Nothing much. We'll have to wait. I haven't explored much.
Yeah, I played around it so much, and the only time where I kind of dislike this from a Power Automate perspective, and no offense to Power Automate, is Business Central have more power where I can define who, based on different amounts, based on different salesperson, who will be the approver on it, which is something which I even today cannot do it on the Power Automate flow. Hopefully this brings that clarity and that distinction to move everything to Power Automate rather than relying it on Business Central. But who knows? Let's see that. Okay, Sandeep sir, did we miss anything? You started this conversation, we just get into it, even last time and this time.
No, I missed the last meeting. I don't know what exactly we discussed in that, and I was unable to see the
Oh, nothing. No, there
upload.
were only two people, so we just had some Q and A's. We didn't get into this. We just had some Q and A for half an hour or so, and then we left.
I
I guess
think
we
we have
did
pretty
talk
much
about
covered.
everything in the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
One feature
Anything?
which I'm missing,
Good.
which was
Yeah.
planned for the previous release, and now they have removed it. It's a functional
What
issue,
is that?
having multiple posting groups for customers and vendors.
Multiple posting group for customers and vendor. Hmm.
Yeah.
Let me think about it.
So
I saw that somewhere. Is that available in North American release? I'll have to come back to you because I saw a change which I was working on last week where it was causing the extension to fail because there's some error around allow multiple posting group. And let me see if I can open my business center and see it. Anyone else have seen that? There's a boolean available, I guess, allow multiple something on your customer or vendor card. Let me see. Anything else? Anyone?
What
Any
what would the
suggestions for
use
next
case
week?
what would the use case be for multiple posting groups for vendors or customers?
Sandeep sir?
sorry, I was unable to understand.
What
What
would be
would
the
be
use case?
Use case is if I want a customer um, who has given me some advance and I want to store it into a separate GL account and not disturb my debtor balance or the customer balance GL. So it will let you select the posting group while doing the transaction. And this is something which is available in SAP, even in FNO and Exapta also, the old name. So it's a very common thing where you single customer may have different balances in different GL accounts.
I see.
सर एक बात बताओगे where would be it set up? Because I
It has to
know
be
there
set
is
up from
something.
here itself, in the vendor posting group, customer posting group. It will be.
Okay.
Go down
It
here
could
in the
be.
customer posting group.
Let me just see one thing. Because there is a boolean for it, but let's go where you're saying. And then we'll search for that. Customer posting group. Okay.
That's the only place I can expect it to be. There was Microsoft documented it that they will provide a option here to in the customer posting group to define what will be the alternate, posting group which will be allowed.
I think I've seen it. That's why I'm kind of searching for it. But I think I've seen it somewhere. Let me open VS Code. And guys, if somebody have to leave, and if you have any suggestions, let me know for the next week. We don't have anything at this moment, but let me know if there's something that you're interested in. Multiple.
They had a different name for it.
Sorry.
Yeah. It was something else. Substitute or something.
Yeah, there is something. I don't remember. I'll have to go back and open my source control where I did make that change. But I know there is something where it gave me an error about. Are you sure that you want to do this or something like that?
I got to take off. See you next week. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, John. See you around. Yep. Bye. Is it on the customer card or somewhere? Let me see.
If it is there, it should be in 12.
Validate. Okay, right. I think I've seen it. I'll have to search and come back to you. But I'm pretty sure I've seen somewhere that there's a reference of while you're changing it
And
somewhere.
this feature is being getting postponed for the last 3 releases.
Mm. Okay. Something I have seen somewhere. I'll have to go back and see. I know I have seen it somewhere. Not maybe. Maybe I'm confusing this with something else. But I know I've seen something like this where you need to define multiple, or it kinds you give you an error. I'll check that. Okay,
Fine.
Avinash, Tanya, anything else that you would like to add?
There's one thing, sir. If I just doubt it or I'm missing it, it's not with respect to what we are discussing here. It's with the Dockers, right? So I the latest version, if I'm saying that Business Central has 22.4, right now,
Yeah.
and what if I want to the same thing? What if I want to compile my extensions with 23 platform on Docker? But the artifacts are only till 22.4. So how can I as in go for 23? Is there something else other than artifacts which I'm missing on the Docker?
There are two ways how you can get it compiled with the 23. One is either you wait till next month, okay, where the previews will be out, so you'll have access even on Dockers with the preview builds, as we have seen in the past releases. Or from an organization perspective, there's something called as a program called Ready to Go. So if you're part of that Ready to Go program, Microsoft gives you a key, a username and a
Mhm.
password in journal, which you can utilize while running your Docker command, which lets you create a Docker container based on whatever Microsoft have changed yesterday. Okay. So it's a pre-built release, which may change tomorrow, but it gives you access to the code that Microsoft is working on today. It's a program is called Ready to Go. You can read more about it on MSDN. And if you're part
Okay.
of it, on
Mhm.
your partner portal, you get a username or a password in journal, which you need to add into your Docker commands, and that'll allow you to create a Docker container with the preview builds or even pre-preview builds.
Right,
And
right.
from an
And then
ISV perspective, it is very common that they will have access to it.
yes, as a of an ISB perspective, I'm talking that.
Yeah.
So yeah, need to compile the whole app, and an ISB. So that is what I wanted to compile the whole app against the new latest build what Microsoft is releasing out, because there are preview version, but so let's suppose we are on 22.4, so I had to do it for 23,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So yeah,
called. So from a
right.
Microsoft perspective, there are two things. One is the next major and the next minor. Mm.
Yeah.
So if you tag your build process to next major, you'll get access to 23. If you say next minor, then you'll get to 22.5 at this moment. But they do allow you to do that.
So is it without the ready to go plan or program,
No,
or
no, you need to have to
it's
the ready to go program because there is a key which is required to do that.
okay, right, right, yes.
And I'm
Great.
pretty sure your company will be part of ready to go program. It's just to get those details, who owns access to the admin center or the partner center, and they'll be able to share that key with you or allow you access to access that key.
Right. So, what really happened was that we had a lot of things. We were compiling, but then I was downloading the artifacts, but I couldn't find 23. Then it was from another ISB company, so multiple things were happening. So from there, and they had compiled it already from 23, because the compiler were giving the tags called 23.0 again and again.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
3.0.
we do it very frequently. Okay. With I don't work for an ISV in general, but we make sure that all our customer extensions are compatible with the next upcoming release. So we do it very frequently. So every partner, at least ISV partner, will have access to that, the key that they need.
Right. And so the thing that you told, the key thing that I'll have to read about it right? The key with the Docker.
Yeah, it's just ready to go program with Microsoft. And once you're part of that program, as in I'm pretty sure you just need to be included into it. But once you're part of it, you get an access to a website where you can get your key as that you can use to build your containers. As simple as that.
That is
So,
very
like,
helpful.
what is that command? Do we remember that? What is that? Get next. Oh, sorry, I always forget that. What is that command to get the artifact? Get BC
Get
artifact URL.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
right. So if you set these properties, I cannot. Come on, intelligence, help me.
next major just
Yeah,
no.
type sandbox and country. Let's say US, and then version select, and then I'll close this here. You see this next major. So even during creation of your Docker, you will set this, okay? And this will give you the next major as an I don't have the key available. So here you need to specify the insider SAS token if you want to get access to the next major release. So if
Okay.
I would have specified my SAS token, SAS token, it'll give me that, oh, your next major is 22 point or 23.0 point, whatever the crazy
Hmm.
number that Microsoft is working today. And then you'll be able to test out with that.
Okay. This is a great help. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so
Sounds fair.
much.
Anything else? Anyone?
So what's planned for next week?
Well, I don't know. Go ahead, Abhinav.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it has been so long. I haven't joined the open discussion, but today I'm able. So it is good to see you all. Thank you for this session.
Samya man. Thank you. Yes, Sandeep sir. Any thoughts for the next
No
week?
idea. No idea.
Okay.
Just pick up
I
something
was
new.
yeah, I was I because somebody called me last week and said, "Oh man, the your SharePoint thing that you guys have built in the last BC open discussion was great and all." And I was like, "That's something which is waste right now," because I was looking at how Microsoft is working on it, right? And I hope you guys can still see my screen. There's a lot of base Microsoft code available for SharePoint. Okay. I might not do it in BC open discussion, but I would like to correct or enhance that code with utilizing the Microsoft code that's available. Like they have the whole authorization framework, everything is there. So as far as people are concerned, if they start utilizing that old legacy code, that'll be a nightmare because we are doing everything manually. Right, Sandeep sir? We remember what we were
Yeah,
doing
now,
in the past.
yeah, now
Yeah. So
interface is there, so
yeah.
let's
So
use that.
if it's super fun as in I love how as in I might not be able to go to the right object right now, but I was playing with it last night. I was super interested in seeing how Microsoft have made it super simple for partners to kind of utilize the whole authentication framework and everything is there. So like the I don't know why I'm going always on this code unit, but there's another code unit which kind of allows you to do certain things and different kind of authentication. The whole description about how the whole uh, different kind of parameters that you need to define. So I, as a developer, would not like to write this. I would like to utilize the whole Microsoft code which is available, so I can define
Yeah,
my
we
client
can
ID,
work on this.
right? Because this is interesting. As much as we can reduce our footprint, that's my end goal at the end of the day. As much as we can
Yeah,
utilize the standard footprint from Microsoft, it'll be easier and have a longer life than we doing something at our risk.
less chances of error on
Yeah,
upgrades.
and Microsoft maintains it, right? I don't. That's a lazy being
Uh,
inside me saying, but Microsoft maintains it. I don't. So yeah, maybe if
so
I didn't find anything interesting, we might play around with it. I'll do my research if needed for this, and then let's see how we can enhance that crazy code that's available because I might not able to remember all the required coordinates and methods that are available, but it does allow you to export and import documents from SharePoint directly into your business center client, which is nice.
Sure. Let's see.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Thanks for the session, Saurabh. Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks. Bye,
Thank-
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so if you are still here, hopefully you have enjoyed what we have talked about today. And if not, let me know into the comment section. If you did enjoy what you're talking about, again, let us know into the comment section. That helps us to understand how we are doing. If there is a question that you would like to ask in this meeting, because this meeting does not based on your schedule, based on wherever you are living, whatever country, whatever region you are living, just put that into the comments. We'll make sure we talk about that question in the next week. So hopefully this was fun. If not, again, let us know into the comment section. If yes, please share this video with your colleagues and your friends. And if you are someone who haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you next week with the same meeting, maybe with a question if you add that. Have a nice weekend and see you.